Okay, so in this part of the lesson, we're going to be working with composite figures. So in this part, we're actually taking previously learned information from our first part of our 3 sections, and we're piecing them together. So if you look at this grain bin, we have 2 parts that are making up that grain bin. We have a cylinder, and then we have a sphere. So this is also known as a hemisphere. Okay, a hemisphere is just half of a sphere. So we're still going to use our same formula, but we're then just going to divide by 2 in the end once we get our answer. So our same formula for a sphere, and then we're going to divide it by 2. Okay, so our formula for a cylinder, let's discuss that out first. So we have area base times our height. So what you guys have been using is, well, the area of our base is a circle, so that's pi times radius squared, and then we're going to take that times the height. Okay, and for our sphere, the formula we use, well, that's 4/3 times pi times radius cubed, and we have to remember it's radius cubed when we're working through that. Okay, so let's go ahead and piece our information in here. So we have 3.14 for pi times our radius is 12 squared times our height is 40. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get that answer. So 3.14 times 12 squared is 144 times 40. When I do that, I get 18,086.4. Okay, and then for our, I'm going to circle that for right now. Then for our hemisphere, we have, I like to use the 4 times pi times, well, our radius is still 12 to the 3rd power, and then divide that by 2. Now, once I get this answer, I'm then going to divide that answer by 2, not divide by 2, sorry, divide by 3 here. And then I'm going to divide by 2 in the very end. This is my 4/3 part. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do my radius cubed first. So 12 times 12 times 12 gives me 1,728 times 3.14 times 4. And now I'm going to divide that by 3. And when I do that, I get 7,234.56. Now I have to do that divide by 2 because it's only half of a sphere. So when I divide by 2, I get 3,617.28. Okay, so now what we're going to do to get our final answer is we are going to add these 2 answers together because they've taken those 2 pieces and just slid them together. So in my calculator, I'll add those 2 together. And when I do that, my final answer is 21,703.68 or 0.7. And then my label was feet. So we're going to say feet cubed because it's volume. So here's our final answer for that one. Okay, once again, you're just taking your pieces, separating them out, and then finding the volume of each of them and then adding them together. Okay, so let's try another one. Oops, got to erase that there. Okay, so here, what do we have for the shapes that make it up? We have, it looks like 2 hemispheres. Okay, I'm really bad at drawing these, but I'll try my best. So here's my hemispheres. And then I have a cylinder in the middle. Okay, so what's tricky about this one is figuring out, well, I can see that the radius on both of these is, or all of these, sorry, is 2. So my radius is 2. Okay, so for my sphere, remember it's 4/3 pi radius cubed, and then normally we would divide by 2, but really this half sphere or hemisphere and this one together make a whole sphere. So I'm not really going to divide by 2 because I have 2 of them. It's just going to save me time. Okay, so the tricky part is we have to figure out this right here, our height of that cylinder. We know that the whole distance here is 8. So how can we figure out what just this part right here is? Well, here's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to use this information. So really from the base of that hemisphere out to the edge or the bubble part is 2. Okay, so that means that where from here to where it would connect here, it's 2. Now, granted, that's pieced apart, but really that's 2. So I'm going to subtract off 2 from that 8. And then same thing here. This is also 2. So I'm going to subtract off 2. So 8 minus 4 between these two leaves me with 4 for that height. So this is now 4 inches. Okay, so we're going to use pi times radius squared times our height. All right, let's go ahead and get the answers to those. So my 2 hemispheres I just add together. So I'm not going to do the divide by 2. Okay, so we're going to do, my radius was 2. So I like to cube that first. 2 times 2 times 2 gives me 8 times 3.14 times 4. And then I'm going to divide by 3 because that's my 4/3. Now, if I just had one hemisphere, I would divide by 2, but I have 2 of them. So between my 2 hemispheres, that gives me 33.49. So we're just going to say 33.5. Now, to do my volume of my cylinder that's in the middle there, we are going to do pi 3.14 times radius squared, so 2 squared, 2 times 2 is 4, times our height, which we found out was 4, gives us 50.26, or sorry, 24. Now we're going to add these two together. So plus 33.5 gives me a final answer of 83.74 or 0.7. Units were inches and its volume, so it's cubed. Okay, so once again, using previous knowledge, you're going to piece it apart. The only really new piece of information in this part of the section is understanding that a hemisphere is half, and then understanding how to piece that apart. So I want you to go ahead, pause your video, work your way through this one. So here it looks like we have a cylinder and a cone, okay, with a radius of 3. Okay, so let's review really quick the formulas. So our formulas are pi times radius squared times our height. And then this one is pi times radius squared times the height divided by 3, because remember it gets smaller and smaller and smaller the way that it goes up. Okay, so this height here is 9. Our height on this is 5. So go ahead and pause your video, work your way through this one, and then check back to get your answer. Your final answer should have been 301.44, or approximately that, meters cubed. Okay, so good luck with this part of the section. Once again, it's piecing apart and using previously learned knowledge and then adding those pieces together.